All right, guys. Today I'm hosting Daniel LaFasso, CEO of Digital Elevator, on the podcast. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, for our audience, if you wouldn't mind giving us like a two minute overview of your journey in the agency world and how you landed where you're at today.
Sure, I'll start where I'm at now. So, I'm the founder and CEO of Digital Elevator. We are a biotech marketing agency. So, we've been around for 14 years and we weren't always in biotech. If I go to the beginning, I was in flight school, and a friend of mine in flight school, I was a airline trainee and he was a helicopter pilot. I couldn't afford a helicopter. It was like 3 times as more expensive. So he was on the military bill, and we finished our private, which means we could fly recreationally. And we're both like, I don't want to be a professional pilot, do you? And he's like, no. He's like, do you want to start a business with me? And we ended up starting an SEO business for lawyers. It was called Tech. And this was very early on, 14, like 2008 or something. And I started with like writing because nobody wanted to write. The lawyers, I was writing legalese for these lawyers blogs. The company fast forward grew a bit. We kind of went our separate ways, me and the co-founder, and I continued writing and then eventually started landing some clients from writing. And then I was like, I know about this SEO thing, which was still pretty new back then. And then I got some people to bite. My first client was like a big gym in New York. And then they started stacking on a bunch of businesses like restaurants and all kinds of other things. So I got a lot of exposure there. And then I got involved locally I was in West Palm Beach at the time. I got involved in the tech hub there, and I made a lot of relationships and started working with more sophisticated companies like SaaS companies. I was white labeling for a major media outlet. They didn't know how to do SEO, so they brought me in. So that's kind of when I got a bit more successful. Basically they were just bringing me clients, and I started needing help and building out a team, and then kind of just was always doing SEO. And then over the years, and certainly in the past 4 or 5 years, kind of branched out into dev and things that complemented SEO. So always did the content marketing piece. And we transitioned to biotech just because had to follow the money, more or less was the story there. Everything was changing. COVID was great for everybody in the digital world, more or less. And then kind of after COVID, things changed and we pivoted. And we were always kind of in biotech, but we went all in and kind of just, niche down. And then we've kind of been there ever since. So that's the story. And we're a pretty small agency, but we got some pretty cool clients. Some are publicly traded, some are, small, medium biz. And we still have a lot of these, old school clients that we've had for 5, 6 years that just never left too, which is awesome to see, like in the automotive industry and fitness industry, stuff like that.
That's a good sign. If you have clients staying on for 5 years, it means you're doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pivoting for them because, I think SEO carried businesses a really long way for a long time when it was their only channel. And despite us saying, hey, you guys got to branch out, do social or paid or something, a lot of them didn't listen because, it was so cheap. That's changed fast. And that's interesting to navigate with people who are, I think clients who are used to spending a certain amount of money and getting a certain amount of results are very slow to pivot to industry changes, and that's happening more than ever right now with all this AI stuff. So it keeps us on our toes for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And we can definitely get into that. I'm curious for agency founders that are listening that, are trying or have already passed that $1 million mark. For you, what was that one growth lever that made the biggest difference in achieving your success?
Learning how to market better. I think a lot of agencies can get working for them for a really long time, and reinvesting that money and putting it into marketing, knowing that the referrals will eventually dry up. And, whether that's for us, it was SEO. Like we were really good at SEO, and when I transitioned my focus from being in the weeds and doing work to actually doing what I think a CEO should do, or kind of, what I wanted to do as the CEO, was figuring out how to market ourselves, and that meant what kind of content marketing would work. I'm trying to be more active, for example, on like LinkedIn. That's a good platform for my industry in particular. And then getting good at those channels and just like hammering them. And then as you do that, you can repackage your services and then charge more, right? I think everybody that's an agency owner probably remembers the days when they would take $500 a month or $2,000 for a website. And then when you look back and you're like, wow, now things are substantially different from what you charge once you become more successful and, once you level up. The challenges that you face, those really crazy type clients that you never thought you'd be working with. But, marketing to them and then having a killer proposal process is probably some of the key attributes to the growth for us personally, at least.
That makes sense. Thanks for sharing. So for, multi seven-figure agencies, there's always this balance as you're growing sales, fulfillment operations. So as a successful founder yourself, how have you navigated that balance between different departments? And at what point did you start to feel the bottleneck? And how did you solve that?
Sure. I think it's just putting and training the right people in place and then training them longer than you think. I think back in the day, I probably thought that training people took a month or two. And then you realize that, especially for like sales, 6 months, 8 months. Operations is something that I think that's a challenging area because with marketing, I feel like the operations manager needs to know marketing pretty well. So the account managers there are really integral to this success because they can answer questions without having to go ask the team that's actually executing, the technicians, we can call them. So I think that's important. I think, we've had like generalist organized type ops managers but they didn't make it, because at the end of the day, if you don't really know marketing and kind of the end goal of what people are looking for, then they're going to get really impatient when asking you what you're doing. So I think, cliche answer, it always comes back to people, but putting the right people in place. I think guys on my team, like my lead digital strategist, is like, if he left, I'd probably have to hire like 3 people or something. It's like stuff like that, guys like that, that you're just like, man, can't lose these employees who just carry things for you once they're familiar with the system.
Got it. That makes sense. And to this day, what has been the most reliable source of new business for you as you've grown the agency?
It's still SEO. There's particular types of blogs that have worked really well, and I think those blogs feed into LLMs. We're getting leads from like ChatGPT and other outlets, and I think those LLMs are indexing the blogs in some capacities. And I think, and what I tell our clients is that if you're good at SEO generally, you're going to have a head start with the LLMs, So that for us is still something that's really important. I mean, we're doing a lot of LinkedIn ads right now. And
Mm,
I think the attribution game is really challenging because every day we'll get a lead, we'll talk to them, they'll say, hey, I came in through Google search. And then, the attribution in our CRM will say something else. Like every time. They don't remember, they don't care to remember. Like they're doing research. They found you. They might have seen us on LinkedIn and they Googled us and then it just comes in direct or something, right? And it's crazy. But by far, SEO has been the main driver of leads for us for sure.
got it. And being that you're the type of agency that eats your own dog food, meaning that you implement the marketing strategies that, you are helping your clients with, how are you managing the lead flow? Do you have a sales team? Do you have appointment setters, closers, or sales reps that are stepping in, or is it, fielding the leads yourself?
Yeah, so we just have one sales guy. It just comes in through the site predominantly. We use the HubSpot CRM and just comes through there. We have a form that doesn't ask too many questions, but it definitely vets them, for budget and then their website and their position and stuff. So we're able to check out their website and then HubSpot will tell us where they came from. So we can kind of answer that internally. We ask them too on that form. But the budget is the qualifier. I mean, sometimes they'll give a little bit about what they want and what they don't want. And then, I mean, our name of the game is try to respond as quickly as possible to that intake. Like we had a little game for a while where, whoever responded the quickest would get like a point, and then we tally up points at the end of the month and somebody would get something. Because I think the research that I've read on that kind of stuff is like the quicker you respond, generally, the more likely you are to get the lead. If somebody comes in and 30 seconds later, you're like, cool, please book a call. Here's the link to our Calendly or whatever. Maybe you're the first person they talk to and then they're good in a perfect world. But yeah, so Rob is our sales manager. Rob schedules those calls. He's done quite a bit of training with me. He comes from the dev team. So he was in the dev team. He's been with me the longest, actually, since that gym that I mentioned,
Wow.
working with them. And one day I was like, hey, I need a project manager. And he called me and was like, hey, man, I need a job. And I was like, I need a project manager, not a dev. I hired him and we figured things out. It's been like 8 years now or something. But yeah, so he's the main sales guy. I still work on strategy. I enjoy strategy, so I take an active role in like the proposals phase. And I think that's been really big for us. Just kind of segueing from that question is being like very strategic and hands-on with proposals and showing a lot of value there. I mean, because we've been in a place where, you send a proposal, it's very boilerplate, bullet points. Here you go, SEO, and we do this and this, PPC, we do this and this. And now it's like, hey, this is our opportunity to kind of wow these people and show them that our proposal, our strategy, our insights are second to none. And I think that's really helpful. And when we shoot a little video, and I usually will go over that video. I mean, I might work on the strategy with a digital strategist if it's like some areas that I'm not super savvy in, which there are many. And yeah, I mean, a lot of it is boilerplate, but a lot of it is like try to provide value and do custom stuff. So I think that really supports him on the sales side, where he's that friendly face, and gets on the call quickly and asks a lot of questions, makes them ask a lot of questions about themselves so that they leave that call. And a lot of those calls with Rob, when I look at the meeting notes or the recording, the Fathom recording, it's like, wow, great question, great question. And I think we take pride in that. We did this training called NEPQ. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, Jerry Minor.
Jeremy
You heard
Minor,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was awesome. I bought that for him. And that was really cool because we utilized a lot of that in our processes, like take their intake information, throw it into AI, say, hey, use Jeremy Minor NEPQ format and give me some questions to help with this conversation based on the intake form that the client filled out, which it might be 2 sentences. And then
Mhm.
it customizes everything. And I think that's really helped us actually on the calls to be a little different than the competitors because, they're just clicking through a PowerPoint presentation and everybody's bored out of their minds. It's like, it's not about them, it's about the agency. And I think that's bullshit. It needs to be about the prospect. So yeah, so that's the sales process mostly.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing. So Daniel, before we jumped on, you were talking about as you're going up marketing, working with larger clients, doing bigger deals, there are now more decision makers involved in the decision to work with you. So how are you navigating that? And what are some of the challenges and how have you, solved those challenges?
Sure. Yeah. So increasingly, this buying committee has revealed itself to be this, four-headed snake where it's usually the marketing director and then three people behind them that, I probably didn't know about many years ago. Them being like the CEO, the CFO increasingly makes a lot of decisions in this stuff, and then maybe like a product manager or something. So we're having definitely to craft our proposals with them in mind. I think marketing teams, even at the biggest companies, like household name companies that we work with or that we're throwing proposals at, the marketing teams struggle to get buy-in. You know, they don't come with buy-in from the C-suite necessarily, and I think that's something interesting, and I think that's probably something a lot of agency owners are experiencing as well. So I think being a CEO and knowing what CEOs generally want, it's like how much does it cost? How long is it going to take? What's my ROI? What are the hurdles involved? What do I need to know about that could sideline this proposal that you're giving me? Because it's funny, some of these companies we work with, multi-million-dollar publicly traded companies, and I don't say any of this stuff to brag. I'm just some of our clients, and they've never done any marketing still, and things are changing where they're like, I need to do something. And then, you're going bananas on maybe a foot in the door product just to get their buy-in and earn their trust. When that 1% of their ad spend is like, 1% of their gross is like a ridiculous amount of money, which is, usually aggressively 7, 8, 10% of gross for marketing. And they're not spending close to 1%. And you know, once you get that foot in the door. So let me just summarize it. I'm kind of rambling here. Generally we try to provide ROI forecasting based on data, and then we try to come in with a small project. So we're not coming in with like, hey, let's do 12-month engagement. Let's like do a 3-month. We work our asses off to get some results. We have to strategically plan our execution so that we get results fast. while knowing that marketing takes time, building brands takes a lot of time. So it's the marriage of both of those things where we have to weigh, long term of what marketing usually takes. In biotech, we're talking 6, 8, 12-month sales cycles generally. I mean, these are high ticket items that our clients are selling. And convincing everyone on that committee that, we're the best option for them and speaking the language of the decision makers rather than the marketers. Marketers don't have to be sold, generally. They just want to figure out who really gets them and who understands their audience the best. Whereas when they take that presentation, they don't usually necessarily have a lot of time to explain it. So they got to take what you have and just give it to somebody who might look at it in their free time. And so it's challenging, but that's kind of our approach. And that's kind of what we've been seeing a lot more and trying to cater to and definitely in the last couple of years.
Got it. That makes sense. And at what point is like the CFO coming into the conversation? Are you bringing them in right away after that initial lead is generated, or is this something more of like you start at the top and then the CEO passes you to meet with the committee? What typically happens?
It's very client specific. I mean, we may not ever meet the CFO. We just know that they're going to look at the proposal or the marketing director's like, hey, they're also going to be involved in this. They generally don't want to meet with us, like, which is
Mm,
fine by me. Like, unless, CEOs will like to meet with us depending on how involved they like to be with marketing, I think. I mean, some don't. And it's always cool to meet them if they want to chat and ask questions or vet us. I mean, sometimes I think they're vetting you because they're, usually the smartest person in the room at these size companies. I got grilled last week pretty bad, actually, when I jumped on a sales call. The guy destroyed me, and I was like, wow, that was not fun. I was like, Raul, this is supposed to be you, man, getting destroyed over here, not me. So, yeah, so you don't usually necessarily meet with them, but if they do come on, they have some specific questions, or they just relay their questions back and like, hey, you need to answer these questions about ROI or whatnot. And if we don't do a good job of that, usually you lose. So yeah, but they're definitely there. I mean, more and more marketers in our prospecting calls are like, the committee is XYZ C-suite.
so you're at least aware of it going into it. You're not caught
Hmm.
off guard in
Right,
the
right.
end. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Cool. I guess, what is your growth trajectory? Where are you guys excited to go in the next, you know, year, 2 years, 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's always slower than what we want. I mean, my goal is to sell the agency. I mean, my team knows that. I speak to private equity groups kind of regularly just to check in and see what they want, see where we're at in their eyes as well. So, I mean, I think to get to a place where I'd like to sell, I mean, we'd probably have to double. The good news is like we have some pretty good momentum right now. The challenge is, I think funding in biotech, and I mean, I think all around has been kind of stagnant for a while, which trickles down, but companies still need to grow. So, I mean, we're to answer the question, I mean, I think it would be great to double probably in like the next year. And I think that's feasible just because, the contract amounts that we're going after now are we can make that happen a lot easier. Really good book I read that kind of has had a profound impact on me is I think it's called 10x is easier than 2x. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't read it, but
You ever read? It's on the shelf.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like when you sell like maybe like an enterprise level product, you're actually reducing the amount of competition. Whereas, if you sell a $10,000 website, right? It's like there's a million competitors. You can't differentiate yourself, but maybe you sell like some enterprise Adobe e-commerce platform website. Instead, you now have like two competitors and the profit margins are way easier and the clients are way easier to work with. And it's like, am I going to sell one, 20, $10,000 websites or am I going to sell one $200,000 website? And that's the mentality we've kind of taken with our product offerings and the type of clients that we want to work with. So I think that lends to our growth opportunities where, it's most clients are like 5 figures minimum, after that foot in the door product or whatever per month. And I think that could bode well for us. So we're not trying to get hundreds and hundreds of clients. We don't have to grow, that would be nice, but scaling that is difficult, obviously, like we talked about. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that in a couple of years, I'll, maybe have the golden handcuffs on with some buyer or partner or something and be just growing on my side. I like marketing. I think I like doing the marketing. I'm involved in that. And I like the strategy. I just, it's always things that you'd like to hand off. And that luckily I've been able to do that a little bit, but I don't think anybody really gets to do it completely. But I think that's the goal.
Got it. So once you sell your agency, Daniel, what's the plan? Like, what is the next step for you? Sell off into
Oh,
the sunset, or you
no,
have
I don't know that I'd have enough money to do that. Plus, I'd probably get bored. I probably need to come out to Hawaii and surf a little bit with you out there. I'll probably so I'm involved in another SaaS startup. My buddy, we I've worked with him before. He had a parent company, they got acquired, so technically he kind of got acquired then, and he started another kind of music industry. He was in the music industry. He was actually a professional musician. The app is called Aurelia, and we're kind of working on relaunching it. I don't know. I'd love to do something like that where I'm not the CEO anymore, or I'll probably start another business. I mean, I already have a couple other businesses underneath me. It's perpetual entrepreneur. I don't know if I continue to do agency stuff, but I'll probably do something else or see if at that point my wife wants to step up and do more real estate or something. But yeah, we'll see. I always got something going on.
cool. Yeah, it never ends. I feel like it's just a perpetual growth cycle of a new thing, the next thing, the next level. Cool.
I can't play
So
golf all day.
is golf your thing? You like golf?
No, I'm just saying.
No.
Just like
Okay.
as everybody
Yeah.
does when they retire, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of getting ready to wrap up here. In order for you to achieve the growth that you're looking for, how do you plan to leverage AI in the next year to stay competitive and to help you get that 2x that you're looking for?
Sure. I think it's a lot of processes, simplifying processes. Excuse me, content writing processes are big, feeding the AI with our processes and then letting it execute on that. I mean, there's a little scarcity there, I think. I mean, maybe not scarcity, but fear there. I mean, Meta and Google are both kind of trying to push automated AI systems for people where they don't need agencies as much, which I definitely see and think is going to come. I mean, it makes sense for them. Like, if our clients don't have to pay an agency to do stuff because they can kind of self onboard, that's more money for ads. I think that'll happen with smaller businesses first. I think mom and pop shops will probably leverage that before my caliber clients would. So that's another reason I'd want to exit before all that goes crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think just leveraging it as tools to stay ahead of competitors, right? Like using the data, using the speed to do those things, and the information that you can pull out if you know how to I think is what is going to keep people ahead. I think the really progressive agencies already have guys internally that are prompt engineers or whatever, or using their data with the tools. So maybe they have a head start. I haven't really seen anything that's that great in marketing other than like some graphic design tools and stuff for like ads. But I don't know. I think candidly, everybody's still a little bit learning about what they should do with AI, despite what people are selling and saying. I mean, I saw one of the very prominent leader in the SEO community saying like, "Man, we don't really know what's going on yet." And I was like, "Yeah, cool. Thank you for saying that because everybody thinks we have it all figured out. It's been like a year.
Yeah.
We don't have the reverse algorithm like we did with Google, for SEO. So I don't know. I think I'm a little ambiguous on that. I'm still figuring it out. I mean, we're definitely using it, obviously, and we're using it to our advantage. But I think how we use it now is different from how we used it 2 months ago. And in 2 months, it'll be different again. So I mean, I spend a fair amount of time trying to stay on top of it. And I think that's something you have to do. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to leverage it because I definitely think resources will get cheaper, right? Whether that's human or otherwise. And I think being kind of nimble is going to be more attractive than ever right now. I mean, as witness, I mean, I think OpenAI has 100 employees or something. Google and Microsoft are firing people left and right. It's because they figured out something. My friend's wife works at KPMG and she's training AI that will probably replace her, and she knows it. Like it's like she has to train the model. So it's crazy, but yeah, I don't have a definite answer. We're definitely using it, and I think once we figure it out, I actually do have some guys like working on some ideas, and we haven't like fleshed out anything that's like, hey, let's go this direction yet. So
Uh,
still figuring that one out.
but staying on top of it, it sounds like
Yeah,
is
yeah,
is a priority.
right.
So wrapping up here, Daniel, if you had to give one piece of advice to other agency owners that are trying to hit multi-seven or eight figures or more in
Mhm.
revenue, what would it be?
I think it's that 10x principle. What are the areas where you can level up, which give you more profit, more focus? Maybe it's a sub niche of the clients that you already have that make you the most money and maybe focusing more on those. But yeah, just using that example, right? Like you can build another commodity 10K website, or you can be one of the two or three companies in your space that builds the 200,000 website. And you just, how do you build that specialized infrastructure to get those kind of clients? And that's where I would focus my time. I think it's definitely a transition. When you tell your team that definitely everybody's not going to be on board, you might fire some clients, you might just churn them out, but it makes sense once it starts working out for you because it's kind of like that funny cliche where it's like, the 6-figure client, it's like, sure, cool, send the invoice. For the 5K client, it's like got 100 questions, wants 15 meetings, questioning everything you do. And it's like, why am I working with this guy so much? Let's work with the other one.
Mm.
And that's how you scale an agency, less competition with more money. It sounds basic, but it actually is and was for us too.
Simple, but sometimes hard to implement and hard to initially make that decision, it sounds like.
Right, right. Choose your hard though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's all hard. It's all hard, but which one you can go after. But yeah, that book outlines it much better than I do. If anybody wants a good kind of like motivational entrepreneur book.
cool. Thanks so much, Daniel. Where can people find you, learn more about your agency, or even just you personally?
True. TheDigitalElevator.com is our website, and I'm active on LinkedIn mostly. Daniel LaFasso. There should be you can find me through the Digital Elevator website as well. That's really it. I mean, I focus most of my time on there. I'm on X as well, but I don't really post. I just kind of learn. So not much engaging there. I'm just reading about all the AI stuff. So yeah, that's really the main channels I'm on. I'm starting to put out some YouTube stuff, but it's more towards like biotech marketing. So if anybody's interested in that, that's about it. But yeah, try to keep it core
Sweet.
just with those channels. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show today, Daniel.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.